we're good.
Okay, before we get started, since it is our first meeting of the calendar year, we do have to have a small organizational meeting. There it is. And just acknowledge that meeting being held on January 6th, 2025. We have appointments and assignments that were made. First, Dan Cornfield was appointed to a full 7-year term through calendar year 2031. And the oath must be signed within 30 days. Matthew Natoli was.
Another oath, yes. One more time. 7 years now.
For the last 7 years.
Do it for one.
Yeah. Matthew Natoli is back as our attorney to the Zoning Board of Appeals for calendar year 2025. Sharon Halpin was appointed as secretary to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the calendar year 2025. Thanks everybody for your service, and pursuant to section 192-118B of the DeWitt Town Code, I appointed Dan Cornfeld as vice chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for calendar year 2025 to act in my place that I am not available. With that, we can get started. But before we take our first application, we have to approve the minutes.
So we just have minutes and 2 resolutions here. First are the minutes from December 16th. Motion from Dan, we have a second.
I'll second.
Kelly. Favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Same applicant, first resolution approved 1 additional sign on the southwest side of the building on a facade without a street access drive. This is Solvay Bank on James Street. Have a motion? Motion. Kelly, a second.
Second.
Max, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Second resolution is the approval of stacking of 4 vehicles in the bank teller lane at Solvay Bank, where the town code requires a minimum stacking of 5 cars. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Kelly, a second.
Second.
From Joe, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. I do have an administrative item. That the Onondaga County Planning Symposium is being held on March 26th, 2025. This will fulfill all the annual training requirements for members, and you won't have to do the DOS tutorials at the end of the year. Alana has some more information, and if you want to sign up, just email me and I'll get you signed up, and the town will pay for your attendance, and it's not all day, it's just a few sessions that you pick, so.
Well, it is an all-day conference, and if you get more than 4 hours of training, you can carry over up to 4 hours to the following year.
So if you stay the whole day for 8 hours, you would have 2 years of training.
I don't know if it's 8 hours, it's based on like how long the class is.
Gotcha. What? That's March 26th, 2025. Okay, that's it.
All right, our first application is Andrew and Crystal Kane. I think you guys are back.
This is tabled from last meeting, so there's notice. I do want to say before you get started, I didn't do this last time. The town is declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. And this is a type 2 action for an area variance for single family, 2-family, and 3-family residents. And this was not a referable action to the county planning board. Sorry, go ahead. I can pull up your revised
Yeah, so I won't waste you guys' time. I got one quick little notes here that I just wanted to spit out real quick, and then whatever you guys think. So that was the scale drawing there that we did. So I just wanted to point out a couple things. So we have a construction company, we do real estate. We have a home office, just like 90% of America does, in your dining room or bedroom. But we don't have a showroom, we don't have a workshop. I don't build anything there, we don't sell anything there. We don't run our business out. Okay, I have a trailer that has, my tools that I use for personal around the house, also, work or whatever. That trailer does come home with me. So, before, when we first bought the place, I was backing in, I was blocking off traffic and I was backing in, and it is what it is. But a lot of people were getting upset and a lot of people waving at me with one finger, So I started wanting to pull in like this. So I pull in, I swoop here, I back in. she parks there. You know, we have a van that we're actually getting rid of anyway. And then, you know, if any of the kids come over, they park, you know, whatever, like right here. We don't park anything over here. I did have a trailer parked over there. It was only temporary because we were pulling stuff out of the house still. The house is still, you know, technically, we're still trying to get stuff done to it, you know. We're always, carpenter's house is never done, right? But I just want to reiterate, we don't run a business out of the house. Like, we don't have customers come there, nothing like that. We've never had 18 vehicles except for a Christmas party. So I don't know what the person who wrote that letter, I don't know what he came up with that, but. The other thing I wanted to point out was, I did submit another petition
Yeah, it's on there.
with a bunch more names on it. That's literally everybody up and down the street. And I did find out that a lot of this street is all renters. You know, like, none of these people own these houses. You know, well, a few, but they live down farther and they signed the petition as well. And a lot of them, like, they all agree. All these people said, it doesn't look tacky, it looks fine, they didn't even notice it. Get the hell out of my house, you know, all these things, right? So I wanted to point out that, you know, it is a rented neighborhood. And the people that own the properties, with the exception of the woman across the street, don't have a problem. I would point out that we didn't know this at the time, but she was the person who used our driveway for her tenants to park when they sealed the driveway, so I found that pretty interesting that she had complained about it when we helped her out, but, you know, whatever. And then the last thing, honestly, we don't have a sidewalk. The sidewalk starts over here. So, you know, we let the kids, you know, they want to bounce their basketballs, they want to ride their scooters. You know, I had a big side thing growing up. You know, we can't let them go down the sidewalk, so that was my other intent for that section of driveway when I'm not driving it. Yeah, basketball hoop, like I said. And then the last thing was, obviously, you know, our dream is to eventually, you know, build a garage, you know, that would hopefully, depending on what the town says and what everything else says, but we would want to build a garage that would pretty much make up all this anyway, you know? So it wouldn't really affect anything after that. But obviously, that's not something we can do this year because we just brought this house back to life, so.
Just a reminder from last time, I think we reduced this to one variance. He needs the improved turnout area, I believe is what he's requesting here.
Yeah.
This is the driveway here.
This is already technically here, it was just never paved.
This would be the turnaround area.
Yep.
The code allows for 12 by 18, so as the zoning board, we have to consider what a minimum variance is. I think last time we talked about 20 by 40. Board recalls, I don't know if this changes your mind at all or questions or anything like that.
It is 50 by 40, right?
This says 50 by 40, correct.
I think the old one was shown bigger.
The other was like 80 by 75 or something.
Yeah, that was,
Can you pull up the picture with the ambulance turnaround? And the pictures of the houses, are those the houses next door?
are you asking, like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah,
4496, this is the lady that wrote the letter that complained. She literally has her whole yard is paved.
Yeah,
Everything's
the whole.
Well,
front of the
that's,
house.
I'm sorry, that's
Go
the
ahead.
state, that was the state that has an
It-
easement on her property and paved that.
okay.
And she-
That's what she explains.
Yeah, she's got it paved up all on the side, her whole backyard, and everything is paved.
It's the other one.
And like I said, the pictures were more or less just to get a feel for, it's the same look as the rest of the neighborhood. This one's a few houses down. Like literally on our side, I think it's like 3-4 houses down.
Is that the back of their house or the front?
Side.
This is
That's
the
the side of
side,
their
this is a driveway, and then this is the house. I believe it's a rental.
It's over here.
Yeah, the
Yep.
streets in the foreground.
So we would be standing in the street right here.
Oh, yeah, right.
The ambulance turning around, so that's what it looks like right now.
Currently.
We're talking about what size is gonna be here, this portion. And we can say, okay, your variance is this much above 12 by 18.
Those dumpsters at the back of the lot.
Yeah, so those aren't there. Those were just there because we were taking you know, we were constantly hauling stuff out.
One dumpster and then it's a four-wheeler trailer.
Yeah, one, yeah, with the whole, before we threw it out of.
So is that the current size it's going to be, or is that?
It's not,
Larger.
no, it's not far off. I mean, it's a little bit smaller than that, cause we, you know, the county right away is 33 feet. I believe that's like, you know, probably right to where the. You know, passenger side of the van would be. And then, so then we would stay back, you know, 35 feet, so maybe back to that tire. And then as far as going back that way. I mean, it's hard to tell because we've been under ice and snow for however many days, but when I measured everything off, you know, I stopped at, what was it, 50 feet? You know, and that's where we would put it. The rest we would, you know, just sod over or whatever you guys need.
Any thoughts on the county right away?
Yeah.
That we need that as a condition? Or
Um,
that's just,
I mean,
that
that's,
just goes
that's
outside.
county law, you know, highway work permit to do anything.
Yeah, so they
They
said 33, so I figured stay back at 35. That way there's no confusion.
So to clarify, you're changing your request to 50 by 40, or it was never really originally 80 by 75?
It was never originally 80 by 70.
That was an inaccurate measurement, and you're also reducing it.
The official request looks to me to be 50 by 40,
Yeah,
starting above the
50.
county right away, so it would be a driveway and then it would start here.
Yep.
So we're deciding what's this area here, the code allows 12 by 18, so anything above that is gonna be variance. Anyone has a thought or motion or anything to, as far as helping them, the minimal.
I mean, I was gonna propose granting 20 by 40,
20,
which is 8,
it would be 40 here and 20 up here.
yeah. Because I think when we looked at this last month, we thought that would be enough for them to be able to pull in and turn.
With the understanding too, that in 2 or 3 years, you can always file another application. But then we start with this and see how it goes,
Yeah,
and then maybe come back in a year or two and you need more, let us know then, does that seem?
It's still quite a large variance, yeah, I mean, right now, the variance would be 584 square feet, 12 by 18 up to 40 by 20.
I just don't want anybody to call town yelling about the guy who backs his trailer in every day. Cause I can't turn around with anything less than what I have, which is fine. I don't, whatever you guys approve is awesome. Taking it to the bank, we're gonna do it. But I'm just saying that I can't, you know, I'm still gonna be blocking off traffic and backing in, but. It's
That's not a permanent condition, right? Trailer,
I mean, I like to take my trailer home every day, but, you know, if it becomes an issue. We've always done,
but generally in the town, we can't park trailers in the driveway,
even if it's attached to the vehicle 24/7.
even for 10 days. After 10 days, you can't just be in your driveway all year,
Really?
that'll be a different, which you can use it for your 10 days, and up and then load it and leave and come back and do all that, but there's no parking on trailers in driveways. But I think the goal of the board was to give you room to park the vehicles and not have to play
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Tetris, right?
like I said, anything helps. Anything's better than what we had.
Right.
I was pitching for that, like I said. You know, basketball hoop, little trike area, scooters, hoverboards, all these kids got all these things. They got nowhere to ride.
For us, it's always about the next application, so it's not,
No, I hear you. Yeah.
School's right there in the corner. Elementary school.
But yeah, we can't let them go there by themselves.
Yeah,
But no, we can do another.
sorry.
Oh, we love coming.
Alright. I would make a motion to grant a variance request
variance is 584 square feet.
of 584 square feet.
The motion would be your motion to permit an area variance, 584 square feet.
They're saying 20 this way, 40 that way.
It's last week 40. There's
Well, is that what it would be?
20 by 40, or
20 by-
In which direction?
You're talking 20 this way and 40 that way, right?
talking the improved turnout would be 40 this way, like it shows, and then this would be sliced about a little
Okay.
more than half, so it would be like this. They could park cars here. Like this, and not have to play Tetris on the driveway, it wouldn't be a parking lot.
It gives enough to pull in and turn.
Yeah.
The idea is that it allows you to pull in fully, so you don't have to keep moving cars, you could back out here and then leave. You come in here and park.
Which should address some of the safety concerns with backing up
Hopefully.
onto the street.
The trail, you never know, I don't know what's gonna be
Oh,
good enough for the
that's why I
trailer,
asked.
but.
Do you have a different?
No, I mean, I was going through that up last month, I was just,
Are
you would
saying we
never be
should-
able to turn around a trailer with that configuration. But if it went the other direction, there's the possibility that it could.
Oh, you're saying if it
Longer line
went
was
40
perpendicular,
to
Longer is
you're-
perpendicular.
You could then turn around a
Oh,
trailer.
It's a two axle trailer? A single
Well,
axle.
do we want to specify the radius or just to prove the,
Well, maybe,
do you know what I mean?
maybe we shouldn't consider the trailer actually, given,
Well, it's only allowed to be there.
just not allowed, it's not
Well, right,
permanent,
I'm
not allowed to be a permanent condition on the property, so.
So do we want to do it the way you just proposed, or do you want
That's
to?
how I'm thinking about it as the lawyer, but it's just me. I'm seeing 40 and then 20, that's how we had talked about it last time. Basically, 4 spots that they can park the car here.
No, I agree with that part. I'm saying how we write the motion.
The motion would be a variance
500.
584 square feet for an improved parking area are now located in conjunction with the driveway.
Yes. That's.
So we're not specific about the only.
They can figure out what works best. Maybe we're just
Exactly.
looking at
I think that's fair.
pictures, so.
And then, I mean, I obviously can't do this until like March or May, right? Just wanna make sure everybody knows.
Get us some updated drawing. 20 by 40.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can, again, like when we do it, or do you want something ahead of time?
Ahead of time would be great now, I think. There, as far as the condition.
Obviously, a motion by Kelly permitting an area variance 584 square feet for an improved parking area or turnout located in conjunction with the driveway. For a second. Second by Joe. All right, let's go through the criteria. There'll be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting.
No, it's consistent with other driveways in the street.
Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Requested variance substantial.
Yes.
Will there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood district?
No.
Is the alleged difficulty self-created? Motion by Chairperson O'Connor permitting an area variance of 584 square feet for an improved parking area or turnout located in conjunction with the driveway, seconded by member Della Posta. Call for a vote, member Trivette,
No.
member Perrin,
yes,
member Della Posta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld,
Yes,
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
You're good, 4-1.
Awesome. So anything we can pay you.
Just give us a map of what you do, so we know what's there.
Yep, by submitting it.
That's all, yep,
Thank you.
thanks a lot, guys. You guys?
Yes.
Is that you?
Sorry,
Rodriguez?
Rodriguez? Yes. Thanks. Before we get started, we usually read a notice. Are you willing to?
Is there anyone here interested in this application besides the presenter here? You willing to waive reading of the notice?
Are you willing to?
I have a
waive-
legal notice here. No one here is interested. I can waive the reading or I can read it.
Waive it.
Just want to say before you get started, that the town is declaring lead agency for the purposes of seeker. This is a type 2 action for individual setback, lot line variance or adjustment. And this was not referred to the county planning board as this is not a referable action. And go ahead.
Well, all I'm looking to do is tear down the house that's there and rebuild on the existing foundation in the same location. That's what I'm asking for.
This house, a car drove into the house and knocked it off its foundation, so this is not self-created. Most likely. So they're looking to rebuild on the same foundation, but because it was a pre-existing non-conforming lot and it needs, or building and it needs to be completely rebuilt, they need to get the variances according to our.
Similar to the case we did in DeWittshire, the unfortunate fire. So I've identified, or the applicant has 4 variances here. These are just setback issues. First would be area variance request of 9.5 feet for a front yard setback of 25.5 feet, where the code requires minimum front yard setback 35 feet. Questions or comments or anything from the board?
So you're not increasing the square footage of the building, it's going
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm actually gonna be building at the code now. There was no insulation in any of the walls in the ceiling. The house 2x4 construction. So now we'll bring it up to code.
No porch, right? There's no porch of any sort in the front of the
You have
house.
to do them separately. That's arbitrary capricious.
All right, I make a motion to approve the 35 front yard setback.
25.5 feet.
Yes, all right, the variance.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Motion made by member Perrin, permitting an area variance of 9.5 feet for a front yard setback of 25.5 feet, seconded by member Trevette. Do the criteria, will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance?
So,
Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? The requested variance substantial? There be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
No.
Footprint. Is the alleged difficulty self-created?
No.
first time, never, I've never known that.
We did it for the burning down.
Which, yeah, same thing. All right, we got a motion made by member Perrin permitting an area variance of 9.5 feet, front yard setback of 25.5 feet, seconded by member Trevette. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin.
Yes.
Member Delaposta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor,
Yes.
passes.
Motion to approve the second one.
Second one.
13.6 foot
Yep,
variance.
second variance, yep, 13.6 for a total side yard setback between both side yards of 11.4 feet. The code requires minimum total side yard setback of 25 feet. Motion made by Max. Have a second? Second by Jamie. Criteria, would there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting? Similar answers, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Is some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? Requested area variance substantial.
Yes.
Would there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
No.
The alleged difficulty self-created?
No.
No. Right, motion made by member Perrin, permitting an area variance of 13.6 feet, total side yard setback of 11.4 feet, seconded by member Trevette. All for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
member Delaposta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Third and fourth are very similar. We have a north side yard setback, variance of 3.3 feet for a total north side yard of 5.7 feet, where the code requires 9-foot single yard setback. Any motions?
Motion to approve.
By Max, second.
I'll second.
Jamie, you're on a roll. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to neighborhood properties created? Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than a variance?
No.
Is a requested variance substantial? Will there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood? The alleged difficulty self-created. Motion by member Perrin permitting an area variance of 3.3 feet for a north side yard setback of 5.7 feet, seconded by member Trevette. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
member Delaposta.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Last but not least, same variance on the south side, variance of 3.3 or south side yard of 5.7 feet.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Max, second by Jamie. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than a variance? Is the requested variance substantial?
Yes.
Is there adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? Self-graded?
No.
Last but not least, motion by member Parent to permit an area variance of 3.3 feet for south of side yard setback of 5.7 feet, seconded by member Trevette. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Parent,
Yes.
member Delaposta. Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You have a good day.
Aaron, am I going too fast for
You're fine.
you?
Kenneth Allen. Hi. Is anybody here for this application? Yes.
I'm gonna read the notice. Notice is hereby given pursuant to section 267-A of the New York State Town Law. A public hearing will be held by the zoning board of appeals of the town of DeWitt, New York. Town offices, 5400 Butternut Drive, East Syracuse, New York. Tuesday, January 21st, 2025, 6:55 p.m. We're not before that. To consider the application of Kenneth P. Allen received by the DeWitt Town Clerk on December 20th, 2024. Concerning the premises situated at 506 Hamilton Parkway. Tax map parcel ID 072.09-11.0. Kenneth P. Allen and April M. Allen, owners in a residential 2 zoning district. Specific relief requested by the applicant is an area variance of 2.8 feet. For a total side yard setback between both side yards of 22.2 feet. Where the DeWitt Town Code section 192-33F requires a minimum total side yard setback of 25 feet. And for such additional relief as may be necessary or appropriate, dated January 13th, 2025. Before you get started, sir, I want to say that the town is declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. The type 2 action for an individual setback. And lot line variance or adjustment. It's not a referable action to the county planning board. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate you hearing this case. So my ask is a simple one, looking to build a 15-foot by 16-foot deck on the back of my garage, shown here in this photo. This being the garage, 15 feet
Should
or
be.
16 feet this way.
Tim says 14 feet. It's 15 feet.
15 in width. Oh, I'm sorry, it is 14. 14 by 16. So the 14 feet is what is in question here. If we extend 14 feet this way, then we come within 9.7 feet of this property line, rather than the mandated 12.5 feet. So we have a narrow lot here. It's half as wide as it is deep. And the only feasible place to put a deck that has access from the house would be in this location. What's not shown on this survey is we have a very dense hedge right here. So it's not visible from the neighbors or from the street. So this is a good location to put what we think is a modest sized deck. To reduce the distance would make the deck prohibitive to use. So we're asking for essentially space to place a grill to prepare food, and to do that would extend approximately 40 square feet into the past the minimum allowed setback. Hence the 9.7 foot distance. So the ask is for a variance of 2.8.
Okay, yours 2.8, where the total between both your side yards is 22.2 feet. Am I right about that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But you don't have single side yard setback problems, I don't think, because you have 9 on each.
Correct.
You have at least 9 on each. Okay. Anything from the board?
So, there's a question.
I have an objection to this.
Please stand and state your name for the record, please, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't see you raise your hand before.
My name is Mary Jane Luke. I live at 318 Cooper Lane, which my back line backs up to Ken's side yard.
That's the opposite side of the hedge over here.
Yes, where the hedge is over there. I believe that the zoning codes are to protect property owners and to provide a uniformity in the neighborhood and to maintain property values. Variance should only be granted for hardship, not for convenience. Having a deck so close to my property will increase the noise level for my home, as well as probably decrease my property value. The house across the street on me from Hamilton sold less than a year ago for $450,000. I'd like to keep my property value up also. This variance is for convenience, not for hardship. The structure easily could go back to the back of the property rather than coming out wide. And I ask you to not grant this variance. Thank you.
If I might just add, the grill that is currently in front of the hedge is closer to the property line than this deck would be. So I would motion that it would improve the situation and move my asset further from Mary Luke's property line than what they have been for the past 3 years. And I understand your concern. I don't anticipate that this will be a concern related to noise. This is just for family use. We're going to have two children. We're welcoming a second child later this year. We simply like some place in the yard for them to play that is safe and bounded. Hence the ask for a 14 by 16 foot area.
When you were right, it's 15. I realized I was looking at the porch.
So the porch is 14, yeah,
15.
15 by 16. But it's still a 2.8 foot variance.
What about her concern to go backwards instead of going over? Is that not feasible?
To do that would require retooling all the existing access. There's no way to walk out onto the deck, putting it behind the house. And that is not a cost that I would be willing to incur. I need to replace my roof and excavate and repave the driveway. I do not have the money to spend to put in new entries and reconfigure rooms in my house. If we're to have a deck, it would have to be here.
It could be connecting L shape to get you back there, potentially.
It could be an L.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it around? It'd be next to the porch.
Yeah.
Can you show us, can you just kind of map out? It's to the right of the enclosed porch.
Here's a sketch that might help.
Matt, I think there's a picture on the slide.
So the photos are really hard to, that's.
Highlighted is.
You go on the chart.
Sorry, I only have 3 of these.
So what is she saying?
Yeah, it's not a great one.
This right here.
Yeah,
That's kind of showing.
You got it. So it comes out to right here.
Didn't encroach on this current line, you could just do it.
Right, exactly.
We're almost within compliance right at the house where it meets the house. It's essentially just the northeastern corner here that encroaches on the minimum setback.
So at the house line, at the I'm gonna call it the rear line of the house, that is in compliance right there, the deck is.
We are just shy of being compliant,
It says
12.2.
15.7.
Well, 15.7 is to the house.
Okay.
The deck would be 12.2.
Okay,
The 12.2 at the junction to the house, and then 9.7 for 10 feet at the 60-foot mark.
are you fixated on an orthogonal deck? You could avoid the whole.
I'm an engineer and I would appreciate straight lines. I will say that. Also, we had to excavate actually to put this in. We're just correcting an 8% grade from the back of the garage out into the yard. So this deck is only at its highest point is 16 inches off the ground. And that would be at the 16-foot mark. So back here, we're at ground level. I don't believe it would be seen even from the street or past the head.
And so where the grill is, it wouldn't, is it gonna go that far as so does,
The grill would move about 5 feet closer to the house than it's pictured onto the deck. Again, it's been there for 3 years. There has not been. I don't believe that it's caused undue noise, but if there's a way that we can have our assets outside further away from the property line, I would think that'd be more favorable to support Mary Lou. It's just that it's on a slope at the moment, so to put that there without a deck would be troublesome.
Well, and arguably, if you built a deck 2 feet smaller in each direction, that doesn't really solve the matter of noise.
Correct.
It's an important concern, but not
Right,
directly relevant.
I could build a 12-foot deck.
Right.
And be in compliance.
So how did you land on 15 by 16, out of curiosity?
A typical 7-foot dining table with 2 chairs on either end and some room for people to sit around without having to step off the deck.
But if it was 14 by 18, would you still need this variance?
If it was 12 by 16, it would not need a variance, or 12 by 18 in your example.
Yeah.
But if it's 15 as pictured, then I would need a 2.8-foot variance.
that's.
I will mention the foundations are in the ground because at the time that we did this work, we thought we were in compliance. And it was determined later, because Mary Luke ran a survey and showed us where the property line was. Then it was determined after the fact that we encroached on the setback. So it was done in good faith, but we just weren't aware that the property line was so close.
Actually, is there enough room where you have your sitting area shown to provide you before you hit the setback line, and where, I'm not sure what it is, that your seating element, there seems to be something in the corner there. Could it not step in, you don't wanna keep it orthogonal, I get that.
Come in at an angle, like take this corner off. you're saying?
Just maybe that's a stepped face and that avoids the whole problem. And you lose minimal area. I mean, it would maybe require an alteration to one corner of your foundation, but that would solve the problem. See this option, so.
That's the option that don't require variance, the
Right.
board's gotta take that into consideration.
I would take a corner off.
Feasible options, they gotta be
Yeah.
feasible, that sounds like them.
Yeah.
That's where you're going.
It's mainly, again, that
Yep.
15 feet that I'm shooting
Yep.
for. If we can get to 15 feet, we don't necessarily need the whole 16 feet to be perfectly orthogonal.
Yeah.
So Jim, can you say again what you're suggesting?
So you see the rectangle, I'm gonna say it's about 3 by 5 in the corner.
Yeah.
Instead of the line that's parallel to the property line being straight, I would see it stepping in toward the closed porch about halfway down its length to bring it into conformance.
Without a variance.
Without a variance.
Yes. So, yeah, so, basically looking at the north arrow, the east side of the, deck would step in to conform to the plot line. And only as much as it requires to step into the plot line.
So then if I understand, at the house, we would have the full 15 feet,
Yes,
Yes.
but out at the 16 foot
yes,
mark,
Yeah.
we would have 12.
yes.
We can't table and give them some time to look at it and come up with something, so we don't outright deny it. We can table it for a month.
Okay.
And you can look at your options and then we can come back if necessary.
Okay.
And
This,
that's
we're
gonna happen.
good with this 12.2 because I realize that that's under the 12.5. But we can leave that and just taper this.
Sorry?
That's not,
25 required for,
25 is required.
yeah, so if it's 12.2,
He would need to not come closer to the,
you can't come out the whole way and.
Even at the corner?
Right, because you have to get to 25, so you have 12.2 on the other side. So 12.2 and 12.2 doesn't get you there.
he's 12.8.
Hmm?
12.8.
What's 12.8?
He needs 12.8 to get to 25.
Yes,
Alright, so we still have variance even at the house line.
Yeah,
yes.
Alright.
but it's I mean, it's,
That would be.
I would well be willing to support something like that.
I would,
Because that would be, you're saying that, okay, we'll give you something, but it's the minimal that,
the least,
least intrusive that we'll give. And help you out to get it up the neighbor.
I would support that.
How does that? How does that change our measurements? How does that change our, should we table it anyways, so we can get
Yes.
Perhaps.
clear measurements of that, and then do this again next month? Motion,
Make a motion to table, allow the applicant to,
Consider proposed,
a lesser variance.
motion by member Trevette table, do I have a second? Second by Kelly, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, we'll see you next month,
Thank you.
we'll let you know in the meeting and all that, we'll give you.
Thank you very much.
You'll also let me know the date of the next hearing.
Yes, we'll let,
Okay.
of course, if you want to, make sure Sharon has your address here and phone number, and we can let you know.
I believe she does.
Not a phone number, but if you.
Phone number, email, any way we can contact you over here.
Anyway, you can do. What would you?
I need to sign this here.
315.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
717. 860.
This is what's.
Basically, we scheduled, we just said, but I'll make sure that.
I do know. Thank you very much.
So we're on. So we're on something, McCracken's next, that was Alan. Correction.
McCracken? Is anybody here on this application? With him, or
Yeah, we're with it.
You're not at someone now.
would you agree to waive reading?
Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you. And before we get started, I want to say the town is declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. This is an unlisted action for commercial area variance, and there are no negative environmental impacts associated with this action. This was referred to the county planning board, and the applicant must adhere to all comments and modifications of the Onondaga County Planning Board. Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm John Bissett with Naparella Consulting. Tonight with me here is my colleague Matthew Naparella and Mike McCracken of Hospitality Restaurant Group. Tonight we are here.
Oh, let me give you your case. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
This is not your case.
on that,
It's fine. It's your best here, guys. You want your site plan up?
That would be perfect, yeah.
Just real quick before you get started, I'll just let the board know what we're looking at here. Front yard setback, building height, and landscape, okay. Let you explain all that.
So our project is a proposed Taco Bell drive-through restaurant at the 5840 Bridge Street property here. Working with the planning board, we've gone through a few iterations of the site, kind of where we're landing is with the building being parallel and closer to Bridge Street to kind of match the planned development of Bridge Street. With that, we've brought the building 10 feet from the property line, thus that 10-foot front yard setback. Property is a little pinched here, just at Marginal Way. So we're requesting that 2 feet setback still allows us to have enough drive lane while having the required amount of parking on the site. And lastly, we are looking for that, or that is the landscape buffer, and then we also need the height variance because we are that 10 feet from Bridge Street. It is a 1-to-1.
Your building has 26 feet. 26.
Planning board has been working on this for a long time. The applicant and idea is to make Bridge Street more walkable and get a sidewalk in there, and that was the thought behind bringing the building up to the road is to kind of interact with the sidewalk and make it look like more walkable and hopefully a sidewalk going all along Bridge Street.
John, talk about the constraint with the utility easement.
Yes, and that is, so part of the reason the building has landed up in this corner, there's a utility easement, National Grid, that runs through the property. Client's currently working with National Grid to relocate that easement at their own cost. So this is trying to keep this as close to Bridge Street and as visible to both Bridge, Marginal Way, and up towards the highway.
I don't have any issues with the planning board.
The planning board is recommending it.
And they almost,
Thanks for
from the way
mentioning
the
that. I can pull it up
application,
here.
the application almost sounds like they're requesting it to be consistent with other projects.
What the planning board saying. See, I have the order here at front yard setback and then building height and then landscaping, so if anyone has a motion on the front yard setback first.
I'm just gonna go back to it.
A motion by Dan. Member Cornfeld to permit a area variance of 25 feet for a front yard setback of 10 feet.
1 second.
Seconded by Kelly. Go through the criteria. Is there an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance?
It's consistent with the plan.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? The request is very substantial.
Yes.
Yes.
5 feet, 45. Is there an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? That's difficulty self-created.
Unless there's a car.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Cornfeld, getting an area variance of 25 feet. Front yard setback 10 feet, seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Call for a vote. Member Trevette,
Yes.
Member Perrin,
Yes.
Member Delaposta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Front yard setback passes 5-0. Second I have is building height. Our code allows you to have 1-for-1 ratio of building height to your closest setback. Here it was, we have a setback of 10 feet in front and we have a requested building height of 26 feet, so 2.6 to 1. So I have a variance of 16 feet for a building height of 26 feet, where the code allows a maximum height of 10 feet. That makes sense. Motion by Dan. Permitting an area variance of 16 feet for a building height, 26 feet, seconded by. Seconded by Joe. There being undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created, granting the variance.
It's consistent.
Boulevard, street. Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Was it very substantial?
Yes.
2.61. An adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No.
Feel like difficulty self-created.
Yes.
Motion by Vice Chair Cornfeld to permit an area variance of 16 feet for total building height of 26 feet, seconded by member Della Posta. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
member Della Posta.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Building height passes 5-0. Last but not least, our town code requires us to look at the design guidelines for the planning board for landscape buffer area. Those guidelines say that there needs to be a landscape buffer of 20 feet. Here, the applicant's requesting 2 feet, so that's a variance of 18 feet of landscape buffer area.
That buffer in the front,
No, it's
size.
Where's the buffer?
People
Under
are
that
complaining.
buffer.
So we got that here where there's this 50-foot right of way here.
This is what you're talking about?
Marginal way has a little triangle point there, the way the right of way is. The actual physical distance from the actual pavement edge to the curb line is greater than 50 feet.
Some landscaping still, 2 feet. Okay. Any motions?
Move to approve.
Motion by Dan, permitting an area variance of 18 feet for a landscape buffer area of 2 feet. Second,
I'll second.
seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance?
No.
Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? Is the requested variance substantial?
Yes.
18 feet on 20? No. Will there be an adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood district?
No.
Is difficulty self-created?
Yeah.
Motion made by Vice Chair Cornfeld, permitting an area variance of 18 feet for a landscape buffer area of 2 feet, seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Della Posta. Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Congratulations.
Thank you very
All
much.
unanimous. Yep.
Thank you.
Great night. Max, you're really gonna hate me on this next two, but I'm gonna be talking a lot. I'm sorry about that. It's a lot of variances in a row here.
Motion to the modification.
To make it pretty, all things
That says they can approve more than one at a time.
I don't like hearing myself talk either.
Michael Silver.
Good evening.
Anybody here? The audience for this? Would you waive reading of the minutes?
I would certainly do that.
Thank you.
This is Michael Silverberg. Hi, Michael.
I'm Paul Curtin,
Hi, Paul Curtin.
I'm the attorney for Mr. Silverberg.
Okay, just before you get started, for the board's knowledge, I'm gonna have Alana say a few words here.
Yeah, and if you can pull up
I'm just gonna
Connect
pull it up.
Explorer, I think that provides good context.
Oh. Connect Explore.
Connect Explorer, yeah, so you can get an aerial of like this whole corridor.
All right, where am I going, Alana?
Go in, go into
Chrome?
the internet. Yep. There should be a shortcut, see it. You just get. And then you can add this on the right. Reduce or improve that, yeah.
4075.
Yep.
Whoops. 1075 New Court Ave.
So the planning board has been reviewing this one. You'll see when this comes up. This is a corridor where there's not a lot of extra space around the building. So there are 2 buildings on the lot currently. 2 different businesses, and one of the business owners wants to buy the building they're in, and Paul, correct me if I say anything that's wrong.
Yep, you're right.
So they're trying to put a lot line right down the middle. There's really 0 lot lines here, and you can see all the way down this corridor if you just zoom out, Matt. You can see all the way down, it's just kind of 0 lot lines. The buildings are most of the lots, so it's a condition that is already there and really can't be changed.
I have got my.
So we have lot A and lot B. What I want to say to the zoning board is that This is in anticipation of a subdivision. Planning board is not able to subdivide this parcel into lot A and lot B because it would create a non-conforming parcel. So in total on lot A, there's 8 variances, and lot B, there's 8 variances. Each variance is going to be contingent upon the planning board approving a subdivision. So if they do approve it, those variances will be in effect. If they don't ever approve it, then the variances won't be in effect. A little strange, but I think this is the right way to do it. But yeah, that's it, that's all I got.
These buildings are on one tax parcel. And they were constructed that way in the late forties, early fifties. And I did that, dated that. It is consistent with what is in the area as has been pointed out by the aerial. The front yard was taken by New York State DOT in a road widening effort some time ago, thus creating the front yard setback issues that we're already facing. It's very compact, but it's very consistent with every other building that's already there. We are just an oddity, because we have 2 primary structures on one tax parcel. So it's already non-conforming, So this predates our zoning and predates our subdivision rights here in the town. That's my assessment of it. So we are requesting a total of 16 variances, 8 for each structure proposed for each lot that these existing structures already sit on. Most of them are duplicative, but some of them are a little bit different, i.e. the measurements are a little bit different. But other than that,
They're all the same for each one.
they're all the same for each of them, so.
Yeah, there's different numbers, but. the
Different
actual
numbers,
variances are the
they're
same.
different numbers, but the measurements may vary in a microcosm. But they're required in order to create 2 lots. And as Alana said, we're going right down the center of the existing lane, so that each parcel will have the setback from that.
0 lot line.
Exactly from there. So there's no other way to do this, and if we were to demolish, hypothetically, if we were to demolish the structures, we couldn't build anything on it because it's a non-conforming lot. So the economics of this don't make any sense other than to allow for a subdivision which requires the variances that we're requesting.
I think I got all your variances right to the number. If I miss any,
I don't think you're
let me
going
know. And we're just doing lot A. I separated these in 2 public hearings just to make it clear. So the first for lot A, let me go to the sheet here. So lot A, these are the variances. I listed them as they appear here.
It is because it's at 1-to-1, and because there's like 0 lot line.
Did I do seeker? No, I didn't do seeker. No. Seeker, the town's declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. This is an unlisted action for commercial area variance. There are no negative environmental impacts associated with this action. This action was referred to the county planning board, and the applicant must adhere to all comments and modifications of the Onondaga County Planning Board. You've heard from the applicant. Are there any questions from the zoning board about any of this? This is going to appear the same for lot B essentially.
What's going in the buildings?
They're
Not changing.
okay.
Oh, go on. I was just saying they're not changing from what's currently there.
What's currently there?
I don't know.
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that exactly.
Okay.
I've not been brought in on that particular thing, but they're both occupied.
For Google map view, it looks like one is a mechanic. Perhaps a body shop, I can't read the logo, but they're a registered motor vehicle retail dealer, and the other is Forte Roofing. At least as of the time of this,
Right.
you know,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
time the Google car drove by.
So this is so that there could be two separately owned buildings,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? So that's the purpose,
That's
really, is
exactly-
to allow for two owners.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the buildings don't change.
Nothing changes on the site. Other than we're putting a lot line between the two buildings and they'll have two separate tax parcels. As opposed to one.
That makes,
So there's no proposed changes to the fire piece, or anything like that, okay.
oh, I think it's just because there's two, they wanna not, one of them's gonna be sold, right?
Correct.
These are recommendations of the planning board on the numbers that you're gonna see in your package here.
Any of the sale, any proposed future use of the buildings would have to come before, well, unless it's, well, I guess as long as it's conforming, we have to come before the.
They're changing
Well, it
use.
has to go back to the planning board, you just have to pre-approve.
This is gonna be subdivided after this. They can't do the subdivision until we do the variances. We can't.
We can sell it.
It's a
They can't
catch
sell it,
22,
right.
yeah.
We're scheduled to be in front of the planning board this Thursday. So, depending upon your resolution this evening. Prepared to take action, I believe. That one.
It's gonna take us until Thursday to go through them all. Motion to approve.
If you want me to get started, I'm
Yeah,
happy
let's
to.
go. Let's get going. Motion to approve.
I'll take a drink of.
Item
drink
A
of
for
water
the
first, then I'll
schedule
start going.
attached.
Okay,
Rick, did you write them down for us here?
I got them all written down. Give me a second. First variance. Lot A. Area variance of 21%, for building coverage of 71%, where the town code allows for maximum coverage of 50%. Any motions? Motion, Max made a motion, sorry. So all these are contingent upon planning board subdivision, so I'll just second it by Joe. So the actual motion is motion made by member Perry to permit an area variance of 21% for total building coverage of 71% with the condition that approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of this parcel at 4075/4077 Newport Ave, seconded by member Della Posta. Will there be a undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance?
No.
No.
Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variance?
No.
Is the requested variance substantial?
Yes.
Yes,
21%. Is there any adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district? Self-created?
yes.
Well,
Yes, but they're gonna break it up because they're selling it.
it predates the code, and if they demolished one, they wouldn't be able to
It'd still
build
be,
another one.
it'd still be non-conforming.
Yeah, it would still be non-conforming.
So it's not anything my client did.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure it is self-created.
Okay, motion made by member Parent to permit an area variance of 21%. Total building coverage of 71%. Condition that the approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of the parcel at 4075/4077 Newport Ave, seconded by member Della Posta. Call for a vote. Member Trevette?
Yes.
Member Perry?
Yes.
Member Della Posta?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld?
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor? Second, that area variance request 5% for total lot coverage of 85%, where the code allows for maximum lot coverage of 80%.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Max,
Second.
second by Joe. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by grants of variance? Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? Requested variance substantial? No.
No,
Be an adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
no.
Difficulty self-created,
Better go with no for all of them.
just gotta say it.
Nope.
Thank you. A motion made by member Perrin. Million area variance of 5% for a total lot coverage of 85% with the condition that approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of the parcel at 4075/4077 Newport Ave, seconded by member Del Posta. Call for a vote, member Trevette. Member Perrin,
Yes.
member Del Posta. Vice Chair Cornfeld,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Third. Area variance 25 feet for a front yard setback of 10 feet, where the code requires a minimum front yard setback of 35 feet. Motion,
Motion approved.
motion by Max, second by
Second.
Kelly. And will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than the variance. So it's not very substantial.
Yes.
10 feet, 25 feet. Will there be an adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? Difficulty self-created?
Or no?
Alright, motion made by member Perrin permitting an area variance of 25 feet for a front yard setback of 10 feet. With the condition that approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of the parcel at 4075/4077 Newport Ave, seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
member Della Posta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Fourth,
Matt, can we table this at the end of the meeting? If we used to, and then just go through everybody else and come back?
it's not getting any better after this.
No, we're not gonna do that.
I guess his point is that we should hold it.
No, everybody in the audience, I mean, let's get through the rest of the cases and then let everybody go, and then we'll stay and just go through all these.
I'd prefer to finish at the meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm already halfway there on the first one, Max.
All right.
It's not a bad point you're making, I'll try. Not a bad point. Now I'm conflicted, I was on a roll.
No, but if we got on. a
We gotta do it eventually.
They're over.
No, we're not starting. We're not starting over.
Motion to approve D1.
We've got a west side here, this is a zero lot line, west side yard, so the variance is for 12 feet. The code requires a minimum setback of 12 feet.
Make a motion.
Just giving them all the maps, I'll give you a second, Kelly. Second by Kelly. I'm trying my best here. Undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood.
No.
So some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than variance?
No.
Was a variance substantial? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Will there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
No.
Self-created? A motion made by member Perrin, area variance of 12 feet for a west side yard setback of 0 feet with a condition that approval of the variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of the parcel 4075/4077 Newport Ave, seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
Aren't you on the east side?
this is west side. Lot B is gonna be east side, 0 yard, 0 lot line. This is lot A, west. Proposal for 0, variance on 12 feet. Member Del Posta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Fifth. East side yard setback, 0.8 feet. For a total of 11.2 feet. A motion,
Motion.
Max, second. Jamie. An undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue? Requested variance substantial?
No.
No.
There'll be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood?
No.
Self-created?
No.
Motion made by member Perrin, permitting an area variance of 0.8 feet, for east side yard setback of 2 feet. Condition that approval of the variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of this parcel, seconded by member Trevette. For a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
member Della Posta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Sixth, area variance for total side yard setback between both side yards of 20.8 feet. For a total side yard setback of 11.2 feet. The code requires 32 feet. So the variance is for 20.8 feet total side yard setback. Our motion,
Motion.
second,
Second.
would be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood. Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue other than variance.
No.
Is the requested variance substantial?
Yes.
Yes.
Will there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
No.
Is the alleged difficulty self-created? No. Motion by Max, permitting an area variance of 20.8 feet for a total side yard setback of 11.2 feet. With the condition that the approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of this parcel, seconded by member Trevette. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Heron,
Yes.
member Delaposta.
Yes.
Vice Chair Portfeld,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Seven. Rear yard setback, area variance request 38.5 feet. For a rear yard setback of 1.5 feet, where the code requires a setback, rear yard setback of 40 feet. Have a motion,
Motion.
Max, second,
Second.
Jamie. There be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment created. Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than variance. Substantial,
Yes.
Yes.
there be an adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Self-grading. Motion by member Perrin, permitting an area variance of 38.5 feet for rear yard setback of 1.5 feet. Condition that approval of this variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of the parcel. Seconded by member Trevette. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
Posta. Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Last but not least. Building height ratio, there's a zero lot line, so the code is giving it a maximum building height of 0 feet. The area variance here is gonna be for 14 feet, for a building height of 14 feet. Motion,
Motion.
Max, second by Cal. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to neighborhood properties created?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue.
You know, any building has to be more than 0. Right? Any building would have to be more than 0.
Yes, there would need a variance no matter what. Yes, more than 0. Is the requested variance substantial? Would be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood?
No.
Self-created?
No.
Motion made by member Perrin, permitting an area variance of 14 feet for a building height of 14 feet with a condition that approval of the variance is contingent on the planning board subdivision of this parcel. Seconded by Chairperson O'Connor. Call for a vote. Member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
member Delaposta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. That was lot A.
You want to?
Now I can do that all again. I can do lot B, or we can move on.
Let's move on, because now he knows the outcome. Anyway, you know what I mean?
We're gonna do your voting on lot B after all these folks have gone through the hearing. If that's okay with you, we'll come back.
That will be fine, but you need me to be present. for
You
that.
don't have to. I think you know where it's
Now we've
going.
gone through lot A, I think. we
I think
can
you know where it's
say-
going.
I do.
And we'll call you and let you know tomorrow. Okay?
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for allowing us to proceed so that these good people can be heard and go home.
This is not a normal occurrence here.
I know, this is very, when I told someone I had an application with 16 variances, they started to choke.
No one's dreading it more than me.
But thank you very, very much for your
I'll
time.
make sure we get back
and
to it.
Consideration.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So now we're-
All right, thank God.
Really well done.
Just, I don't like hearing myself talk as it is. Just over and over again. Next is gonna be upstate pathology, it looks like. Anyone here interested in this case? Who's not the applicant? Do you agree to waive reading of the notice?
Yes.
Great. Before you get started. Let's scroll down. The town's declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. This is an unlisted action for a commercial area variance. There are no negative environmental impacts associated with this action. This was referred to the county planning board, and the applicant must adhere to all comments and modifications of the county planning board. Go for it.
Yeah, so,
Let me bring up your,
site plan?
yeah, a second.
Sure. I'm Kurt Charlin with Colliers Engineering. We're the civil site lead for the project. I have John Murphy here with me as well, the owner for the project. So would you like me to give you an overview of the project as a whole or just talk about the variances?
Could you spell your last name, please?
CHARLAND, it's KURT. You bet.
Project as a whole is great, but really, what are the variances?
Yeah, sure. So as a whole,
Trying to get your
project's,
map here.
a new 108,000 square foot pathology lab, site improvements associated with it. The upstate medical has went through the programming for parking and stuff, and we provided some background on that information. And they essentially require about 255 spaces to meet their parking needs. They have 3 shifts, first being the largest throughout. So we have the parking that we have presented on here originally was 255 spaces. Working with the town, we added another parking lot over there for a total of 412 parking spaces to be built on the site. What we've shown, you don't quite see off the page, is we also have the banked parking or future parking, another 320 spaces over there, which would meet the overall code of, I believe, it's 726 spaces. So again, we're building 412 as part of the project. So we have a parking lot here, parking lot adjacent to there, with banked parking on the opposite side of the road. This is the main entrance drive that comes into the existing boat and joint center. This is a 66 Point Fly Road. So if you're familiar with the Bone and Joint Center is off Fly Road, they're shared common access road. So one of the variances is for parking. I think we're requesting 44%, where 25 is permitted to be in reserve. And we provided full engineering documents for that parking to show that it can be built should it need to be. So we provided stormwater calcs, everything to the town engineers for that stuff.
Sorry, we still talk about that.
Sure. The second variance that we're requesting is for locating the this is a slightly out of date site plan, but they're still in the same spot. They're just a little bit smaller. It's the trash enclosures to be located in, because this is Fly Road, it's considered the front yard, even though the frontage is kind of really on the entrance drive. So we have the truck docks back here. These are recessed truck docks. If you're not familiar with the site overall, this is a very forested area. There's definitely, I think it's 25 or 30 foot elevation drop. It actually from Fly Road goes up and then back down, but this is severely, so you can't even see this from Fly Road. So the dumpsters would be located, or the trash enclosure would be located in the front yard, but in the recessed trucking dock and in the enclosure itself. So it's a fence enclosure as well. So that's the second variance we're requesting as well.
Any comments from the planning board, Alana?
Yes. Would recommend.
Any comments from the planning board?
Yeah, I mean, the planning board.
This has been with the planning board for a while, so.
This has been with the planning board for a while. We've been going back and forth, got to this parking count that the planning board is comfortable with. This is not a building that would have the public coming to it, so it's just the people working there, some couriers during the day for the most part. And so this was, the planning board was comfortable with these numbers.
And we're not doing exact parking spaces, I don't believe, we're just increasing reserve and then the planning board, they'll go back there and they'll figure it out.
The reserve would be from 25% to 44%, so all the reserve would be in that the lot that was, across the interior road. And like Kurt was saying, the front yard is Fly Road, because Fly Road is the public road, that interior road is a private road, so that's gonna be the buildings kind of front facing, but their actual front yard from a code perspective is on the Fly Road side, so we need that variance to
The dumpster's enclosed.
It is, yeah. Yeah, the fence enclosure around it. It's also recessed. So not only is it visually screened from the building on one side,
retaining walls that are on the truck dock on both sides. There's also a mechanical yard, but even for Fly Road, there exists a tremendous amount of topography and vegetation. It's just the vegetation that's staying in place. So even the building, a 3-story building, isn't really visible from that section of the road.
Motions, there's parking and there's a dumpster.
I make a motion to approve the variance for the dumpster area in the front yard too.
Permitting a dumpster in the front yard, okay. Kelly, any seconds? Seconded by, is that Joe or Jamie? Jamie? Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance? Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than a variance?
No.
So request a variance substantial?
Yep.
Will there be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
No.
Self-created?
Yes.
Motion made by Chairperson O'Connor to permit a dumpster in the front yard, seconded by member Trevette. I'll call for a vote. Member Trevette?
Yes.
Member Perrin?
Yes.
Member Della Posta?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld?
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor? The dumpster passes. Parking variance is a 19% variance, so you're going from 25% to 44%.
Reserve.
Reserve parking. We did this recently for another applicant to like 33 or 34%. You recall.
Make a motion.
Motion by Jamie to approve. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I could second by Joe. For the parking, will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created?
No.
Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue?
No.
Substantial?
Yes.
Be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? Upgraded?
Yes.
Motion made by member Trevette, permitting the applicant to hold 44% of required parking spaces in reserve for future parking. Seconded by member Della Posta. Call for a vote. Member Trevette.
Yes.
Member Perrin.
Yes.
Member Della Posta.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, preserve. Preserving green space, that's right, oh, yeah. Sure, do you hear that? Maybe no one.
What's that?
They're
Preserve
preserving.
parking, help preserve green space.
Yeah. I already did it. I got it right somewhere.
Must be a reduced variance. We have 2 more left.
Megan Jackson.
Megan, I think is
She's on Zoom.
on Zoom. Yeah.
Is anyone here for,
Let's get Megan up here first. Do I have to do anything, Alana? Hey, Megan?
Can you hear us?
You're probably so tired of hearing me talk.
during the first 8,
Now we want to ping her. We give her a
First-
poke.
the 8 on the 8. Is she muted? She's muted. Oh no, that's
No,
Kayla.
Megan Jackson, can you hear us?
This is, what's this for? Chick-fil-A signs?
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. Next is use variance. Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's-
Oh, I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me.
Are you muted?
Yeah.
It's very embarrassing. I don't think we're doing anything wrong.
I don't think it's on our end. It's on our end.
Because it would say mute for us.
Yeah.
You wanna
Has that
have her,
before?
Yeah.
you wanna have her call in on your phone?
That might be better. Or she'd call into this.
Is there anything on there that you can do?
Where?
On this?
Watch that. Oh, is this the sound? Is this for the sound?
I think that controls the camera. I don't know if it controls.
I think it's all, I think it's for.
Could Kayla or Janelle come off mute to say something to see if we can hear them?
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Janelle.
So it's on Megan's end then.
Hey, Megan, I think it's on your end.
Megan, do you want to try disconnecting and coming back on?
Let's try it.
She can't
Hi.
respond.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry, I had to dial in on my phone. I'm not sure what's going on.
that's okay.
Before we get started, is there anyone in the audience here for this? Nope.
Megan, do you agree to waive reading of the legal notice?
Yes.
Thank you. Before you get started, Megan, the town is declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. This isn't, oh no, this is the wrong one. The town is declaring lead agency for purposes of seeker. This is an unlisted action for a commercial area. There it is. No negative environmental impacts associated with this action. This has been referred to the county planning board. The applicant must adhere to all comments and modifications of the county planning board. All right, Megan, go ahead.
Good evening. So this is an application for sign variances. Mostly for wayfinding, traffic and safety purposes for the new Chick-fil-A being developed on Sealy Drive. The application is to alert drivers in the property of certain specific areas designated for purposes of picking up mobile orders or designating certain drivers to merge or watch pedestrian traffic.
These are all directional signs.
Are these for cars so you can see from your car
Yeah.
what it is?
Part of it, like the signs for like picking up food and stuff, this section of the code was done before COVID when this wasn't really something that was happening. So the signs can only be 3 feet tall, I believe. And some of it's code that needs to be updated.
And they're only a certain size too, so they're looking for taller signs and larger signs. But they're all these small directional parking signs, it's how I.
They're all directional signs, yeah. And the planning board didn't do a recommendation for this because there was some confusion. The planning board had back when this whole project was approved in the fall or last year, they had approved like a signage package with all these signs in them, not realizing at the time that they didn't meet code, so they didn't really have the authority to approve these signs, so you know, planning board did try to approve these, so that's kind of their recommendation, but now we're just trying to bring everything into conformance.
Are these the same signs as every other Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
Yeah, we had to remove their logo because that's not allowed by code on directional signage, so they might be a little bit different, but I think they're pretty standard.
So when you pull up to the curbside pickup, you can see the sign instead of it being
Instead of
like a
being 3
bumper.
feet tall.
Yeah.
How many are there?
7.
There's 7 total.
These are movable?
Yes, they can be put away when the business is not in use, or if the flow of traffic isn't as heavy as it normally is during peak hours, they're normally put away.
It says for 1.75 feet each.
Variance would be, I have an area variance of 19 inches. Would allow for small directional parking signs, instead of 7 different variances. For allowing small directional parking signs to be 55 inches above grade instead of 36 inches above grade.
Okay.
Makes sense?
So there's no quantity associated.
No quantity associated, would allow them to have their small directional parking signs above code.
But Alana, are all the signs going to be bigger or they're just?
No, some are
just
taller
one.
and then, yeah, there were 1 or 2 that were gonna be bigger.
Just one was gonna be bigger.
We're giving them the ability to go to this height and to this size for their small directional signs. Am I right about that?
Well, it's two different things. There's some that need to be taller.
The two variances, one for height and one for size.
Yes, but they're for different signs.
Right. That's what I believe.
How do I specify which sign? I'm just saying small directional parking signs, that's what I.
They, I mean, they break down all the signs in here.
They need variance.
We don't need a variance for each sign, I don't think.
I think
I don't
one
think
of
we do.
one of the attachments, Matt, has a breakdown of all the signs and what they say.
Yes.
No, it's a written description.
I thought this was gonna make sense one.
While you're looking for that, Matt, if these signs are movable, why do they need a variance?
You know, that's what I was wondering.
They're not stuck in the ground.
There's a part of the code just for directional signage, and I don't think they're all movable. I think.
Yeah, some of them are going to be.
Yeah, some of them are.
The way I'm phrasing this is, we're allowing Chick-fil-A or the applicant to have small directional parking signs that are 55 inches above grade. I don't have 7 small directional parking signs, but they could have them be.
They include a.
The way this is written, they could, I don't know if that's right or not.
Matt, they could, if you, click that one there, the code reference list. You were.
Yeah, right there.
They show.
There's your list. But they're all.
They're all the same.
They're all the same. They're telling us what they're writing on each one, but they're telling us there's 7.
They're all 55 inches above grade.
Right.
Mhm.
But the last one. And I'm not sure on this whether or not, and Megan, maybe you can clear this up.
It
Are
says two.
all of these signs going to be above, do all of these signs need the size variance?
No, just the MO3 needs the size variance. It's over by 1.75.
Okay, just one sign is over by 1.75.
Correct. The MO3.
Okay.
And the other ones are all for height, correct?
Yes.
So we give the number.
7, I'll do 7 signs that are,
6 of which are.
we're allowing 7 directional signs that are 55 inches above grade. They can put them wherever they want. We'll allow 7 of them.
Yes.
Yes.
This would be 8, and the 8th sign
For the size.
is a size. Alright. Alright, so the motion's gonna be motion to permit an area variance of 19 inches to allow for 7 small directional and parking signs that are 55 inches above grade.
Matt, I think you should do them each individually.
Max, don't, please, I'm so tired of talking, please.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to approve an area variance of 19 inches for 7 small directionals
55 inches above
that are
grade, perfect.
55 inches above.
Seconded by, next, anyone listening to this hearing knows I don't take shortcuts, okay? I go through all of those. Seconded by Jamie. Motion made by Kelly.
Oh, it's Jamie?
Yes. All right, motion made by Kelly to permit an area variance of 19 inches to allow for 7 small directional and parking signs that are 55 inches above grade, seconded by Dr. Trevette. Both of the criteria, undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance. Wait. Some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other variance, like substantial. Adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Self-created. A motion by Chairperson O'Connor to permit an area variance of 19 inches to allow for 7 small directional and parking signs that are 55 inches above grade, seconded by a member Trevette. I'll call for a vote. Member Trevette.
Yes.
Member Perrin.
Yes.
Member Delaposta. Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Height, 7 signs passes. Now. Second's going to be an area variance of 1.75 square feet to allow for 1 small directional and parking sign that is 3.75 square feet in size. Sound right? Just do it that way? Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Kelly to approve. Any seconds? seconded by Jamie. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the variance? No. So was a method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than a variance?
No.
It's a request substantial. One side. Would be an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? Self-created. A motion by Chairperson O'Connor to permit an area variance of 1.75 square feet to allow for one small directional parking sign that is 3.75 square feet in size, seconded by Member Trevette. Call for a vote, Member Trevette.
Yes.
Member Terran.
Yes.
Member Della Posta.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. All right, Megan, congratulations.
Thank you for your time.
Great night.
Last application. Michael Robert Associates. I assume everyone in the audience is here for this application.
Notice, I'm gonna read the notice. Notice is hereby given pursuant to section 267-A of the New York State Town Law that a public hearing will be held by the zoning board of appeals. Town of DeWitt, New York, at the town offices, 5400 Butternut Drive, East Syracuse, New York, Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. 7:25 PM to consider the application of Michael Robert Associates, Inc. Received by the DeWitt Town Clerk on November 25th, 2024. During the premises situated at 5575 Thompson Road, tax map parcel ID 061-13011. New York Conference of United Church of Christ owner in a residential 2 zoning district. Specific relief requested by the applicant is a use variance to allow for business office use in a residential 2 zoning district that does not permit a business office use. And for such additional relief as may be necessary or appropriate, posted in the paper January 13th, 2025.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brody Smith. I'm an attorney at Bonchenick and King, and I represent the applicant. I realize that we're the last application tonight, but I have a responsibility to trend towards brevity. I'll do my best to respect that. I'll run down the facts briefly. The property located at 5575 Thompson Road is in an R2 district, so that's mainly low density, single family residential uses. It is 0.87 acres. The building itself is 4,696 square feet. It was originally an office building. It was that was used by the American Heart Association, constructed in 1984. Thereafter, it was used by the Church of Christ as offices. It has been vacant since March 2020. Church of Christ has not been using it, they've been marketing it, and have been unable to sell the property. We're here seeking a use variance. I realize, having done zoning and planning work for 20 years and spent a lot of time on your side of the table, that use variances are something that you are very careful about issuing. Having done this that long, I've heard all the analogies. The best one I've heard is a use variance is a bit like a sand wedge. If everything is being done correctly, you don't need it very often. But I'll tell you, if you're at the bottom of a bunker, it is a necessary tool. There's a reason that use variances exist. If you find yourself in this situation, you need to use it. This property, I'm gonna go through just a little more background on it, show you a couple pictures. We're standing at the bottom of the bunker. This is, if there's ever been a property that was screaming for a use variance, it's this one. So to illustrate that point, I'd ask you to look at the last 2 pages in the photographs that I sent you. And what this first photo is, it's an aerial. And you can see the subject property on the left side of the photograph. Thompson Road appears in the middle of the photograph. And then you see the DeWitt Cleaners and a parking lot, and you see Erie Boulevard. Now, I understand why, from maybe an initial point of view, looking at a map, you might draw a line around the block and say this is a residential block. But this property basically faces Erie Boulevard. The second drawing I want to show you is this one. This is a street view, Google Street View. And this is standing in the driveway of this property and looking towards Erie Boulevard. You're looking at the Dwight Cleaners parking lot, Erie Boulevard, and Shopping Town Mall. This is not an ideal spot for single family residential. And I think that the development pattern that has proceeded on the Erie Boulevard commercial corridor has dictated this, and that, you know, by virtue of its location, it is just not suitable for that low density residential use. In order for you to grant a use variance, you need a record. And so we have to hit those four criteria that are so important in order to justify a use variance. And the first one that I've always thought is the most important one is showing you through real evidence, preferably through an expert, that the variance is required in terms of there being no ability to get a reasonable return under the current zone. So here we've provided you a sworn affidavit from a real estate professional that researched the property and has had a lot of talked to a number of former listing agents and has a lot of information about the property. This property has been, again, listed continuously for 4 years now, more than 4 years. It has, you know, they've reduced prices. I mean, think about it. This is a 4,600 square feet building. They're down to about 400,000. And still nobody wants to buy it. The design, we attached to our letter, we've given you a stack of photographs of the interior and of the layout and the floor plan. And it's just not something that can be converted to a house. It's clearly an office building. It's always been used as an office building. The only reason it was ever permitted to be an office building before is because there was this religious hook. But there's just no market for religious office buildings in the town of DeWitt. That's not coming back, right? So the current zoning can't support that. I talked to you a moment ago about the location not being appropriate for a house. I mean, there's a parking lot in the front lawn. You've got views of the Shopping Town Mall, the dry cleaner, and Erie Boulevard. So the building itself is not configured in such a way that it can be used as a home. The location is not appropriate for residential development. The second criteria is whether the property is unique. Now, the curve of Thompson Road, if you look at a zoning map, yes, there's residential behind it out in a neighborhood on side streets, but the curve of Thompson just pushes this out into the commercial zone. It really is a salient of property zoned residential in a sea. It's a peninsula in a sea of commercial, right? And it really isn't appropriate given the way that the development pattern has progressed for it to be zoned low density residential. Now, the third criteria is, will it negatively affect the neighborhood for this use variance to be granted? Again, going back to 1984, this has always been an office building. Now, the proposed use, the Michael Roberts Agency, their financial advisors, very little foot traffic. This is not a fast food restaurant, a bank branch, a dentist's office. This is like a few people a day come there. This is mainly an office for professionals that work on their computer, that answer the phone, that do financial planning, retirement planning, tax planning, that sort of thing. So it's about as low density, it's about as low impact as an office use can possibly be. And again, it's always been used as an office. There was really no change in the neighborhood in that sense. And then in terms of impact on the neighborhood, I do think, this building has been in a bad condition for a long time. And it would be beneficial to see it upgraded. The elevations that I provided to you show their plans to, freshen up the building, new windows, new doors, new landscaping, paint, It's not gonna be a drastic change in terms of the footprint of the structure or anything like that. They're gonna remove some old concrete stairs that are tired and eyesores. And have the front door be off of the parking lot, but all undeniable aesthetic improvements on this building that I think would on balance clearly benefit the neighborhood. And then finally, self-created, we have a contract vendee who didn't create any of these issues. It's sort of generic to all use variances, right? It's never, when you change uses, it's always gonna be a different user. So I don't think I'm saying anything controversial that we don't have an issue with being self-created. I'll stop there and answer any questions that you might have.
They'd like to say something.
Does anybody want to speak on this?
I should say there are multiple members of the business, Michael Roberts here, that are available to answer questions if you have any questions for them or concerns in that regard.
Can I ask a question? Is this how this works?
Just say your name, so
David?
Sharon can correct them.
Oh, David Anastasio. I live right kind of behind like a 8 iron away.
Your address, please?
185 Winston Way.
Thank you.
So my question is, this is a financial business, but you're trying to change the use of the property to business. Is that like a vague term, or is it specifically into a financial business? So for example, 2 years from now, you guys decide to upgrade and this goes on the market. In any business now that it's used for a business, can any business go in there?
The application is for business office use. This is what,
Office
what they're
use.
requesting.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's a fair question.
Well, yeah, and of course, my whole concern is that you guys leave and a smoke shop goes in or something like that. Like we do not want that type of stuff in the neighborhood. Nothing against smoke shops, but just we wouldn't want that.
That's a fair question. Is it okay if I address it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, not retail. So in the code, there's different categories of uses, and office is one of them. And, you know, something where you know, like a 7-Eleven or smoke shop or something where you're selling things to the public, that's a different thing. And so by virtue of there being a use variance for an office, it would only allow office uses.
But do you feel better about smoke shops? We currently have a moratorium on smoke shops in the town of DeWitt. Those laws.
Is that true, really?
Those laws are gonna be changing, yeah.
Okay.
The problem with smoke shops, not to get into all that, is that they're all located on East Tennessee Street and they're all treated as retail. So
Right.
forward, that we gotta make a change of that. The code never contemplated the modern smoke.
And hey,
shops.
listen, I mean, I'm all for like, hey, put your business where you want, you know, I personally don't like to regulate it, and I'm glad you guys do your job for sure to keep our neighborhoods. But that would be my only concern, would be, and what are the hours that you expect to be open? Can I ask that?
9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay, Monday through Friday.
Are there gonna be tenants in the building, or is it just the one operator?
Just us.
Just the one, yeah.
But so you're making the application as a potential purchaser. You haven't purchased the building, correct?
Contract ending, yeah.
Okay. And Church of Christ isn't here today.
No, they signed the application.
Okay, but they didn't produce the real estate documentation in the affidavit you produced in connection with that. Who
So
generated that?
the affidavit is from a real estate professional, Jeff Roney. And you can see in the affidavit, he consults with the listing agent to gather that information from the Church of Christ, include that data and that information. So the application is signed by both the contract entity and as required by your form, the current.
Okay, but who did you guys retain or work with Jeff Rooney to prepare that?
Yes.
I'm here. I am.
And he's here.
Okay.
And in addition to that, my representation here is as a buyer agent from Michael Roberts Associates. The listing agent is here as well. We're both from the same firm, Keller Williams Syracuse. That's Esther Zorn. So we did work directly with the attorneys at Von Schoenig and King. They interviewed us and they got financial background as a result. Esther has a long history as listing agent, knowing exactly what's been going on with the property, from foot traffic to financial outlay, purchase offers, inquiries, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a collaborative effort, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
And as you look at the exhibits to the affidavit, you can see that there's expense data in the Church of Christ that help give you those dollars and cents evidence that you need.
Where is
to
that?
use.
It's, well, so I guess what I would say is this is our first use variance as this board is with me being chairman. I actually think it's the first use variance I've heard in 4 years. So I had to do some digging. And I've looked at the Department of State's recommendations and the things that they discuss in connection with a use variance in some detail. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it being a different use, but I am concerned with the burden of proof as it relates to the proof entered to show that you achieve a reasonable, that you could not achieve a reasonable return for the use allowed in the zoning district, and also that the hardship is not self-created.
Mhm.
The guidelines really look at, or the recommendations from the state talk about the type of evidence that you've submitted, and specifically states that there should be dollars and cents proof regarding a lack of reasonable return. And I did look at the affidavit that discusses purchase price or purchase offer, or the sale price and the history of attempting to sell the property. Also, the history of reducing that value. But nothing more concrete or substantial. And the guidelines actually say that the real estate agent's estimate of the value of the property is poor proof of financial hardship. And actually what we're looking for is more of a professional, unbiased appraisal of the property. So I think I'm concerned about that part, and obviously other members will speak on that. But the other issue is the issue of self-created hardship. And the guidelines really recommend that the applicant is not allowed to create the hardship before they've purchased the property and then say that it's not self-created.
I think those are really good questions, that I think I can provide some additional information about. So,
Well, is the additional information already contained in the packet, or are you guys wanting to provide that additional documentation for the board to review?
well, maybe both, but in the there's a couple things in the packet I'd like to explain on first.
I got it up here, so if you wanna.
Yeah, so the dollars and cents proof. Oftentimes what you're doing in, those recommendations that you're looking at from the Department of State is they're talking about we need evidence to show that that you can't get a reasonable return, meaning a business is failing. So oftentimes, in my experience, when we've done this, you have you can't get enough rent, you can't get enough lease income, you can't do that sort of thing, and you show the expenses and you show the income. Here, you see Exhibit B to the sworn affidavit, you have the list of expenses each year, and you see there's $41,501.41 worth of expenses. Remember, it's easy to do this math in this case. I don't need a CPA because there's no income. It's vacant. There is no revenue. This property generates zero revenue. So if you've got $41,000 worth of expenses and zero revenue, you cannot achieve a reasonable return because it is a net negative. It's 100% negative because there's zero opportunity to generate income. Now, it would be different. What you're talking about is well, what if I had this use, I could put it to this use and it would generate a little bit of income, or maybe, we're talking about maybe it should be a farm, it could generate a little bit of income, and maybe, and so those things you're talking about, is it enough? Here, that's not a problem, because it's zero. There's no income that can be generated from this site under the current zoning, and the affidavit goes through various uses that are listed in the code as you look through the numbered paragraphs of it. For example, it covers them all. Agriculture. We can't remove and excavate, this property and put it back to an agricultural use. Can't get a reasonable return that way. So that's the sort of dollar and cents proofs you have to generate. And I understand what you're saying, but we don't have any use that generates any money. So that this is as far as that can go in this case, because it's not as if it generates some money, but we're arguing it's not enough. And then in terms of the qualified professionals, if you look at the case law, real estate, obviously, we're trying to get a sense of, you know, whether or not it can, how it can be used. So real estate professionals are really one of the better ones. I'm not saying just any agent or just any broker, like you said, but here we have somebody with, you know, so someone's been in the real estate business since 1992. So this is an expert, this is an expert with decades of experience. And I think that that kind of person in this case is giving us the insight that we need. Now, who else could you call? Could you call a CPA? And I've done that for other use variances where you're analyzing a business and whether a revenue stream is adequate to get a reasonable return. Here, I can't give you a CPA.
An appraisal.
I can't, well, an appraiser, it's zero because it won't sell, right? So.
It's not worth zero, no, the appraiser would not say the property is worth zero. The appraiser
It's
would.
pretty
appraise-
close, it's pretty close,
Fair real estate value.
yeah.
But
So.
we also don't have
is-
that.
But is,
But it's not shown anywhere,
Is-
we can assume that, but.
But let's say hypothetically, a real estate agent said it's worth, for residential development, it's worth 50 grand. Well, that's still not a reasonable return on a 4,600 square foot building.
Could be.
but it is under the use that's currently there. Right?
What do you mean?
An R2 use, is that not a fair market for a lot into it?
495,000.
No, say fit, whatever an appraiser appraises a lot as. For. Well, I had your same thought, so I was wondering.
Reasonable return is decided by the zoning board, I believe, and you decide if it's $10, you can say it's reasonable return.
What is reasonable? So.
That's up to the board to decide, hey, this is either reasonable or not, without that in front of them, it's hard to say. Cause they're just speculating, and we're not alone, none of us have seen use variance in years, we haven't had one, I've been here since 2021, we have not had one come here. So I have given the board some guidance, I've looked at it myself. The self-created issue is another one I'm curious about, how you can purchase a property or move to purchase a property and then say you need a variance to complete that purchase.
Well, so that's
Maybe
why,
they're
that's
all-
why the Church of Christ is on the application. They signed the application. So they can't sell it. That's clear, right? So
I
that's,
think though that
But
this
they're the
doesn't,
ones. Sorry, go ahead.
but this doesn't really show that. I mean, you talk about the fact that the value that you tried to sell for a sale price of $495,000 and that it was on the market for 2 years. Without showing what the value of the property,
Land value.
the land value of the property. But you really don't provide very much detail as to the efforts in the negotiation or the offers, or the negotiations to substantiate, other than that it was reduced from 495 to 485 to 425 in 2024, without really discussing the efforts.
It says it's being marketed as a commercial property as well, but who would ever buy it as a commercial property in its current?
it can't be used as a house in its current configuration, it absolutely can't be used as a house.
So you
Yeah,
can, just say your name for the record,
My
please.
name is Esther Gordon. I'm the listing realtor, and I have shown that property so many times to so many different configurations. As you might imagine, there have been people who have wanted to make it into a multifamily situation, a multi-dwelling, you know? And I think they were told by somebody in the town of DeWitt, no more than 3, okay? Can be divided no more than 3. But then when they looked into the expense of doing that, it was too much.
Where is that?
But that's not in.
They're not gonna have a return on their investment
That's not in the.
if they do that.
Right, so that's potentially usable evidence that isn't contained in the submission that we have,
Yeah.
right? So that additional,
Different.
but that additional detail isn't documented in the proof. And I don't know if anyone else is, but I am a little concerned that the people submitting the affidavit are also invested in selling the property. So we don't really have an uninterested party submitting the evidence in favor of your application.
Well, let me ask it a different way. We could hire an appraiser. And an appraiser could tell you what the vacant, what, assume it's a tear down. I think it is, you can't use it commercial, it's tear down, right? So, you know, an appraiser could tell you what vacant residential lots go for and do it. They could tell you that. I don't know if they could tell you much more than that. Because this is really a location issue. Here's the issue.
But we don't know because it's not in the application. We don't know what it's gonna say.
What's that?
We don't, if it's not in the application, we have nothing to look at as far as that. There was an appraisal of the land value, but at least the board would.
Well, no, but an appraiser, all an appraiser can tell you is generically what vacant building lots go for and do it. I don't know. I can tell you it'd be very hard to adjust for this. This is unique. You know, they could say something, they could pick something, but it's not gonna be. You're not gonna get better information about the marketability of this site than from real estate professionals.
Is there some sort
Well,
of
I
like
think-
market analysis or anything like that that's out there or anything like that, anything further that explains the real estate climate and what things are selling for and how that.
Well, I think generally speaking, over the last 5 years, the real estate climate is very good. They still can't sell it. So remember, they started marketing this in March 2020.
Well, in the pandemic,
What's that?
in the pandemic,
Right. Right.
which would have been a tough. March 2020 would have been a tough time to sell that.
I'm looking at it,
But they've been marketing continuously since then.
It's
How long
not
was
a
it on the
change
market?
of use either, that's what it's always confused me. It's been used as an
yeah,
office.
that's what I was.
Right, but the
gonna say.
resident, if.
We allow religious use.
Yeah, so it's
That's
not
the use it's under
residential.
is religious use. So it's
But
not-
as a practical matter, before the church was using it, someone else was using it as an office.
Yeah,
For
commercial
different, for
I
the,
think there was a nonprofit
there was a
exception.
nonprofit exception.
But still, taking a step back, people were using it as an office. Right? I mean, the church was using it as an office, the other people, nonprofit was using it as an office. It's not as if this was somebody's home that somebody tried to do something else with. For decades, it's been an office.
Yeah, I think that makes it suitable for consideration of a unique circumstance and suitable for the application in general. Don't think it resolves,
Test the test.
it doesn't resolve the use variance standards and the guidance associated with it. It doesn't mean the application would permanently fail. I think that we don't have what we need to pass the application tonight because we don't have the financial information recommended in the guidance for the reasons that I talked about, but the third prong of self-created hardship. It specifically states in the guidance, quote, an applicant who buys a property is presumed to know whether his or her intended use of it is not allowed by the zoning regulations. If it's not allowed, the applicant is essentially creating his or her own hardship when the property is acquired, and the ZBA must deny the application.
So no one has bought it.
Yeah, it's not fraud.
We are trying, the Church of Christ sign.
They're not under contract.
Right,
We are contracting.
It's a
We haven't
contingent
closed. We haven't closed.
right.
So
So the
this is the
potential
right way to do
purchaser
it.
of the, right, so then it goes on to say the
Yeah.
potential purchaser of the property acting as a contract vendee would be wise to apply for a variance before the property changes hands. The information on which the ZBA would base its decision would be the existing owner, not the potential
That's what
purchaser.
we're doing. That's exactly.
So
what-
you're here on behalf of the owner, on
Yeah.
behalf of the Church of Christ.
Both. Just like the suggestion said, we're doing exactly what they're suggesting we do there as a contract vendor.
But the affirmation in support of that is by all the. I don't know.
He's saying that the owner
Yes,
and
no,
the
I know what
applicant
he's saying.
both signed.
Yeah,
So he's
We both
here
signed, yeah.
on behalf of both to try and get a use variance for the property because church is stuck.
This is exactly the way
Church
it's
is
supposed
stuck.
to do it.
yes, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing this for the first time, Brody, so
Yeah.
it's not, I don't think anyone
It's
thinks
not
it's a bad
personal, it's
idea.
just,
But the criteria are such, and the standard is such where all of these have to be met. If any of them aren't met, it has to be a denial. So for the board to look at our guidance that says dollars and cents and competent financial evidence.
And not real estate.
We have a paragraph talking, hey, we listed at 495, we listed at 450, we listed commercial and residential. But that's not really a whole lot of evidence. It's just, well, I think we understand what you're saying.
But you can't ask the applicant to get evidence that doesn't exist.
That's correct.
So I mean, they brought to us what there is in the world to consider.
It's a reasonable rate of return, so. I think one way you could look at this is you've got a 4,600 square foot building. Even if they could find someone to buy it for 400 grand, which they can't. Would that be a reasonable rate of return on a 4,600 square foot building?
Well, have you shown that the value is worth the $485,000?
Yes.
So you're selling.
The board might say yes, that's a reasonable return.
But I mean, that's the conversation you get. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Well, you're saying that the property is listed as $485,000 and you can't sell it at $425,000, but we don't know what the property, I mean, you're saying it's worth nothing. So then are we surprised that it didn't sell at 485, 475, 425? I mean, I think that's that doesn't add up. So you're saying that
It's worth nothing, I'd be
it's
surprised.
worth nothing, but your evidence is that it didn't sell at 485,000, 425,000. So you're selling a $0 property or marketing for sale what you think is a $0 property for $485,000.
I'm saying that the fact that we can't sell it at 400, and it's 4,600 square foot building. Real estate agents.
And these market.
What do you think of that?
It would be quite astounding to have a building not sell,
With that square footage?
yes.
Right.
How long was it marketed as a residential?
What's that?
How long was it on the market as a residential property?
I think you marketed it all the above, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or all of it, or for the entire duration of
So I
the.
thought it rotated, it was residential, then
It
you
says-
went only commercial, then you went back to only residential
Well,
or something.
partially because the residential got turned down so many times that you couldn't make it residential. If you walk into that building, you know it's not residential, and to convert it to residential would be so costly that it's not worth it. And I had some of the best people in the business looking at it for that, and they all shook their head and said, no.
Yes.
Mary?
Mr. Manning?
Hi, Brody, how are
Good, nice to meet you.
you? I live in the neighborhood, I've lived in the neighborhood for 31 years. We have zoning, I'm on the town board as well, but we zone things for a reason. And that parcel is zoned residential. Everything on Genesee Street is zoned residential. We don't have any businesses on the north side of Thompson, Orvilleton for a reason. American Heart had their offices in there. It was for a not-for-profit. They did it. Church of Christ knew exactly what the zoning was when they bought the place in 2006 for $300,000. Did it go down in value? Did it go up in value? Probably went down in value. I have no idea where you're getting $41,000 a year as to have that building vacant. They don't pay real estate taxes. They probably don't have utilities on much. Insurance is probably $1,500.
It's $41,000 over 5 years, not a year, yeah.
Okay, so,
But Carrie does make a point.
but I mean, I've talked to other people in the Orvilleton neighborhood. I've been there for 31 years. We don't need a commercial business in our neighborhood. I understand the pictures. It's the other side of the street. You know, we've got all commercial over there. There's lots of traffic in the neighborhood, but we have zoning for a reason, and you know that. I mean, it's zoned residential for a reason. There's no hardship. I mean, I just sold a building in Towpath Commons about a year ago, 16,000 square feet, sold for $60 a square foot. In Towpath Commons. Now, Towpath Commons is a lot nicer than this spot. $60 a foot. You put this on the market for $240, $250, somebody's probably buy it.
They might just tear it down, put over a single thing.
Well, that's what,
Mary makes a good point that the Church of Christ knew about the zoning when they came in there in 06. What do you have to say about that piece of it? Did they?
Well, if Terry's right, and they sold it for $250 and they bought it for $300, I don't consider that a reasonable return on their investment. They lost 50 grand.
Lots of people that buy houses and buildings that lose money, Brody, you know that.
Not in this market.
Well, that's.
Fuck yeah, there are, there's plenty of foreclosures. Line Meadows is in foreclosure right now, Access Towers is in foreclosure right now, there's lots of buildings that get foreclosed on because people pay too much for them.
But also that I mean, I guess it goes back again to self-creation, but also that additional information regarding the pricing and is not contained in the information submitted. I mean, my recommendation or my preference would be that we see additional documentation with regard to the first part of the test.
So I have choices I can provide you. I mean, we can provide an additional affidavit from the real estate agent you talked to. I could put her up here and have her answer your questions under oath, which would be probably from an evidentiary point of view better. It'd be more admissible. That's up to you.
She's a listing agent.
I mean, I
You
think,
may swear people in as the zoning board.
yeah, I'm looking for additional documentation onto the value of the property, all those pieces of information that you are telling us about. I want to see the actual evidentiary information in paper form so that we can look at it before we.
So if I put it in paper form, I can do that, but it will not be admissible in the same way as sworn testimony.
Okay,
It's up to you.
I'm fine with that. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'd like to see the papers. I'd like to see the submission. I'd like time to review it and go through the case law, all the things associated with it.
Even based on the guidance I'm seeing, even if you get that, the question I'm having is a self-creation, that the Church of Christ knew when they bought it, that they were gonna have an issue.
Selling
As
it.
far as selling it.
Value.
And its value, they knew that when they bought it. Probably knew back then, there's not a whole lot of religious use office buildings that they could sell to.
And they certainly didn't know about COVID, and they didn't expect that they would.
Of course not, but it's not whether or not the board agrees that, or disagrees that this is a good idea. It could be a great idea for the neighborhood, for everybody.
Right.
But if they can't meet the prong of self-creation, if they created this for themselves by purchasing that property in a limited zone.
Well, in those.
The guidance says we have to deny the application. It doesn't say, well,
But when they bought it, someone was using it as an office.
But that's not, the special circumstances.
they knew the
is the issue.
zoning. was
Well,
always-
I get that,
It
but
was
they,
never business zoning. It was always.
correct, but when they bought it, it wasn't like it was somebody's house. When they bought it, people were using it as an office.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes it a good
They-
potential
they
application.
They were
It
well
does,
informed with it.
well, and that does create a unique circumstance. That isn't the issue.
Another way to think of it is the zoning board does three things, right? You grant area variances all the time, you're good at it, it's reflex, right? You do interpretations and you grant use variances. Those are your three statutory obligations. If you never grant use variances,
We don't get a lot of use variances. This is
I
the
know.
first one.
if you never, if you create a threshold that is sort of, you know, gets you there, that's something to think about. That's one of your three statutory obligations, is to do those three things. The case law says that zoning codes are not meant to be suicide paths, and that you are the pressure valve. That is your function. Where there is a zoning designation that does not allow a property owner to get a reasonable return because it's not the right, because these circumstances have arisen.
But they knew or should have known that when they purchased the property, in 06. Shouldn't they have known that? Or
Yeah, their ownership pre-exists the zoning law.
Well, I'm not saying it's not conforming use, I'm not saying that, I wish I could,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But this is a special. This is a special circumstance.
I think
Look at what this is, yeah.
my vote doesn't matter. I see your argument. I mean, I see what you mean, but I'm having a problem with what I'm seeing from the state website about how hard it is to get area variances. That's and I see why, because that self-created question, we have to answer for every area variance, and it's always yes. It is almost always yes. So it's hard to get a no on that question. And so that's why I'm asking thinking so deeply about it that the guidance is very clear. If they put themselves, if the applicant puts themselves in a position to create this, it's a no. That's telling.
That's how it reads.
What I would say that,
And I don't know everything about use variances at all. I'm just going by what I'm hearing from the state and from people who are smarter than me about when to approve and deny these things.
you look at the cases, and I think exactly what happened here is supported by the idea that what isn't self-created is the development pattern that has surrounded this parcel. So again, standing in the driveway of this single-family residential parcel, you see nothing but commercial, right? So that development pattern that has propagated around this property is not the owner's fault.
To the back of it, right? All the neighborhoods behind.
This is out the front. The back property line,
Is Orvilleton.
It's Orville.
there's residential in the back line.
Right, and it's all.
I drive down this road, I drive this road
There's
every
a
single
main,
day.
And then-
there's a main street that runs right to the edge of the DeWitt Cleaners, and you turn right there and you're right there. So for me, the fact that it's on the other side of the DeWitt Cleaners and those other Chipotle, those other businesses are on the other side of the street. So when you're driving down Haddonfield to get through from East Genesee, to get through to this, like if you're on that side, not coming up from Erie, you're gonna drive right through that property. So there is a distinction, at least in my opinion. And I think what Carrie's saying is that you're gonna cut right through that onto that same side of Thompson that abuts the entire neighborhood of Orvilleton, which has a lot of little people and young families.
And behind that property is all woods. So it's not like visually you are immediately into commercial property. It's all woods behind there.
It is well screened, you can sort of see it here,
Yeah, Carrie.
I think the building was built in what, 1984?
84, yeah.
All those commercial properties were there when the building was built in 1984. It has not developed, actually, Shoppingtown has been destroyed since 1984. But every commercial business on every boulevard. Now they've changed hands, but they were all commercial businesses long before 1984, long before American Heart built the building and somehow convinced who was ever the planning board in 1984 that they could build this building on a residential lot, with the exception that it has to be for not-for-profit use.
There
That's
used
the
to be
deal.
a special permit or something.
That's the deal that was made in 1984, and the church that owns it now knew that very well in 2006, because everybody knew it. I remember when it went up for sale. Everybody knew in 2006 that it could only be used for not-for-profit, and they paid 300 grand, didn't pay real estate taxes. So they've owned it for 18 years, they've probably saved about $200,000 in real estate taxes because they were tax exempt. So if you take that 200 from 300 they paid, my assessment would be, they should sell for 150 and they get a $50,000 return.
I get from a common sense point of view, the idea is like, well, certain businesses, you know, we would accept churches, we would accept not-for-profits, you know, because we believe there's sort of social good in that, not other businesses, but Matt will tell you, if you ask him in executive session, St. Ange, all those cases in New York, we zone uses, we don't zone nice people and not as nice people. So honestly speaking, I don't think that that distinction is defensible. The idea that, you know, you should only be able to have religious offices and not non-religious offices. That's a tough one.
Well, that's the code though.
That's what our code
Which
says.
is
So I think we would have to
indefensible
amend,
aspect of the code.
we would have to amend the code though to address that.
No, there's other ways that could play out, but
I mean,
that's
that's-
the last thing.
That's a different issue though.
That's a
Brody.
different
It's
issue.
a totally different issue.
I'm just responding to this. The whole deal was it was religious, it was okay.
No, I mean, he was saying initially it was for the American Heart Association. That's why it was built. So it was first premised on the American Heart Association, which it had its own
Same argument.
exemption,
That there's sort of zoning distinctions, can't have it.
but we do.
If you have an argument that the town is illegally zoning, I mean, that's a totally different issue, Brody. I mean, my issue is very simple with the self-creation of the issue, that they knew certain aspects of this and now 14 years later, 20 years later, they're saying, oh, we can't sell it, but they should have known that. Be my.
Yeah, well, there's that, yeah, and there also hasn't been. I don't think there's been sufficient evidence as to what efforts were undertaken to put somebody in that space who's similarly situated.
So just realistically, if this doesn't pass and you're able to find a buyer, are they gonna tear it down? What happens next?
I'm not in a position to speak to Mr. Price personally. I could find that out. If I had to guess, it feels like a tear down. Yeah.
But wouldn't you wanna know that information?
How would you?
How would you quantify that?
Well, the Church of Christ could submit something on its behalf as to its intentions with regard to the building and what efforts it made.
What if they just let it dilapidate down to nothing?
That's what,
That's
that's where it's going.
That's a question I have, just being a neighborhood resident, and I agree with everything that Carrie's saying, like, why would we want a business there? But also, I think there's a benefit to not having structures that are not occupied. Like, there's something, I feel like a benefit to being like, there's someone in there, it's not just this empty space.
Paying taxes.
So my question, I guess, would be if the variance is not granted, give me, like, is there an example, like, what type of business can go in? Because it sounds like probably not.
That's why they have a good case for a use variance.
That's why
That's
that's
why they
what
have
we're
a good
saying,
case
they
for it.
have a good case for a use.
The problem is the guidance we're having from the state is so strict on the approval of use variances that it's telling us that if certain facts are true, the zoning board must deny is what it says.
Right.
So if the Church of Christ knew at that time what it was getting into, that's a self-created issue off the top, and so that.
And someone mentioned tear down, I guess just being within earshot of this joint, does tear down mean like they can just leave foundation and they're like, see you later? Or do they have to leave it in a condition that doesn't make it look? Like, I'm just nervous that this place is just gonna be like overrun with rats and they're like, we're tearing it down because we can't sell it. It's easier to sell without everything there. They tear it down to the foundation, it sits there and my neighborhood looks like
There's
there's
property maintenance.
terrible things, just because someone at one
They
point
do have to keep up with the
gave-
property maintenance code.
gave a variance to some not-for-profit because it was a nice thing to do. But again, I also am like, yeah, I mean, a business in that area, I mean, that's really close to my house, like, I don't know how many parking spaces are gonna be there, like, there's a lot that could be not beneficial to me, but I also feel like there's a benefit to not having an empty lot that looks like, looks like it's from Breaking Bad.
So you've indulged me a lot, so stop. But the last thing I'm saying is the idea on.
We're trying with caution,
Right.
so.
What you've articulated about the self-grade is, well, they knew the zoning when they bought it in 2016. Okay, but market conditions change. That's the purpose of the use variance. The market conditions now mean that this just isn't gonna be a single family home.
Maybe that's what we need then, how it was back then and how it is now, and they had no idea like they would ever be faced with this situation, and this is why. We thought that this was not going to be a problem for us to sell it, and this is why. Now, something's happened where we have a problem, we can't sell this building. And we've tried, we can't get any sort of return based on these efforts. I don't see that here yet, I think you're getting there, but I'm not sure I see enough. To that way, but Carrie's neighbor's right, I mean, it's you don't want it to be nothing there, so I.
Let me ask you a different question too. So we're talking about Shopping Town being turned into something District East-ish at some point.
Yes, me too.
Someday.
Yeah. I'm
So,
concerned.
but my question is, the thought for District East, whatever that thing is gonna be, is also gonna be a mixture, I presume, of residential and commercial. So if we're forward thinking, across the street is gonna be people's homes as well as businesses in some combination together, right? So allowing this place on this side of the street would sort of mirror that. Does that make sense, or am I?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, the proposal for District East that was provided to the IDA includes mixed use residential. In many
in some instances, there are apartment buildings that are only residential, but as you go to the center of District East, there are towers, we have residential above commercial. So yes, the plans that have been submitted to the IDA, the plans that are currently part of an eminent domain process for District East across the street involve a lot of mixed use residential.
The different zoning district.
It's a floating zone.
Right. That's gonna be a whole new zone, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it'll be in the.
Do anything.
I mean, my,
The board's gotta discuss and determine, do you have enough evidence to competently go through each of those criteria? If you feel like you do, we can talk about each criteria and see if they pass. If you feel like you don't, you can request more information. I'll make it be tabled. If you feel like you don't have what you need, you can motion tonight, so. Do you want a motion to table? You can always do that.
We can table.
You make it a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Second? Second by Joe, all in favor?
I,
So we're gonna table it for now, but Brody, we should talk. We should talk. Listen. Maybe, at least have a better idea of what the board's gonna do. And we'll go from there.
I am always available.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you for coming
Thank you very
in.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you for waiting all night.
You know, oh wait, we can't leave.
No, we have to leave like that.
Sorry.
Excuse.
Times here, I really don't want to do this right now.
Oh, yeah.
Sharon, ready to go to lot B?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Eugene Levy, yeah. The young one,
Yeah.
thank you. That's very clear to make sure, yeah, the distinction is very helpful. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you. Take care.
Carry on, sir. You guys want?
Motion to approve.
Lot B, I'm gonna do this as quick as possible. My poor dog in that crate. All right, this is lot B, all the same stuff. First one, building coverage. Who wants the motion?
Motion.
Motion by Max, second by Jamie. Undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created. Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue. Substantial.
Yes.
First effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions, self-created. This is written no, right?
We're doing that way.
Motion by Max, permitting an area variance of 24% for total building coverage of 74%, contingent on the planning board subdivision. Seconded by Jamie. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Parent.
Yes.
Del Posto.
Yes.
Cornfeld.
Yes.
O'Connor. Second, lot coverage, motion?
Motion.
To approve. Second, Jamie,
Yes.
undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue?
No.
Substantial?
Yes.
This is just 6%.
Oh, 6%.
Adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions?
No.
Self-created? By Max, second by Jamie, permitting an area variance of 6% for total lot coverage of 86%. Contingent upon planning and division. Parcel, seconded by Trevette, I said that, sorry, member Trevette,
Yes.
member Perrin,
Yes.
I'm losing that, member Del Posto.
Yes.
Cornfeld.
Yep.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Front yard setback. 24.4 feet, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Max, second by Jamie. That is a front yard setback of 24.4 feet for a total setback of 10.6 feet. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the neighborhood? Some other method for the applicant to pursue?
No.
Substantial?
Yes.
Adverse effect or impact?
No.
self-created. Call for a vote, member Trevette,
Or yes.
member Karen,
Yes.
Del Posto,
Yes.
Cornfeld.
Yeah.
O'Connor. Fourth. 0.9 foot variance request, we got 5 more to do, we'll be out of here, for a total west side yard setback of 11.2 feet. Will there be an undesirable change produced in the neighborhood?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue?
Are you on the east side one now?
West,
West.
I changed them up a little bit to match exactly what lot A was.
Oh, okay.
Substantial, no. Adverse effect or impact? Upgraded? No. Member Trevette,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Del Posto,
Yes.
Cornfeld,
Yes.
Connor. Fifth, 0 lot line on the east side, area variance for 12 feet. Motion,
Motion.
Max, Jamie. Undesirable change produced in the neighborhood, feasible method for the applicant to pursue,
No.
substantial,
Very.
adverse effect or impact.
No.
Self-graded. Call for the vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Cornfeld,
Yes.
O'Connor. Yes. 3 more to go, this is total side yard setback, 20.8 foot variance. Motion by Kelly, Max, you want the second there?
Oh, shoot, I was sleeping. Second.
Undesirable change produced in the neighborhood?
No.
Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue? Potential? Adverse effect or impact? Self-graded. Kelly, second by Max, permitting an area variance of 20.8 feet for a total side yard setback of 11.2 feet with the condition that the approval of the variance is contingent on subdivision of parcel. Seventh. Rear yard setback 28.6 feet, motion?
Motion.
Yes, second, whatever.
Max gets this first one, you guys stop fighting over there, that's good. Kelly second. Undesirable change produced in the neighborhood? Nope. Actually, Jamie's right. So, six.
I know I'm having problems with staying with it.
No, you're right, this is 20.8 feet total side yard setback.
Yes.
Member Trevette, member Perrin,
Yes.
Del Posto.
Yes.
Cornfeld.
Yeah.
O'Connor.
Yes.
That's the rear yard setback, you said it is not substantial, how about adverse effect or impact?
No.
Self-graded? No. Motion by Max, second by Kelly. Permitted area variance of 28.6 feet, the rear yard setback of 11.4 feet, contingent on planning board subdivision, call for a vote, member Trevette,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Del Posto, Cornfeld.
Yes.
Last but not least, building height, 14-foot building height with a 0 lot line. Approval or motion?
Motion.
Max, Kelly, second. Undesirable change produced in the neighborhood. Some other feasible method for the applicant to pursue. Substantial. Adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions. Self-graded. This one is motion by Max permitting an area variance of 14 feet for building height of 14 feet with condition that the approval of the variance is contingent on planning board subdivision of the parcel. Call for a vote, member Trevette.
Yes.
Member Perrin.
Yes.
Member Del Posto.
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Cornfeld.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Connor. Put done. Motion to adjourn. Karen, you got all that?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
I think we should talk about it real quick.
I just think we need more.